Hey, what's up guys? So if you're curious about other objections, I'll put a link to the sales playlist down in the description below. But this video, we're gonna be just talking about think about it, which is one of the most common objections, especially when you're new to doing estimates. And it's personally my favorite objection to handle because a lot of times I really don't think, at least half the time, it's not the real objection. And it's kind of fun to just navigate the conversation and get to a point where you actually figure out what is the real objection. And I think the reason that happens is it's just a really natural thing to say, think about it. When you put yourself in the shoes of the homeowner, and it's not like they don't want to tell you the real objection, they're just like, kind of just going with the flow, oh yeah, I'll think about it, see you later. And then you can just, keep talking, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, yeah, I mean, I guess actually what it really is I'm getting other estimates, or I need to talk with my husband or wife, or I'm not even sure if I'm painting this year. You can get to that real objection, and I'm going to show you how to just naturally do that, which is great because if you look at my 7.5 steps to estimating, you'll see 3 of the 7 steps is closing. And the real art of sales, in my opinion, like what really separates the good from the great, is you got to close, and then you have to close again, but you have to do it in a very comfortable, respectful way so you don't lose any grounds with the homeowner. So naturally, we want to do things throughout the estimate to eliminate objections altogether. But specifically for this example, I'm going to be talking about at the end of the estimate, you close and you get think about it. So you maybe come in, you're like, hey, I got option A, B, and C here. Which one do you want to go with? And then they just say what seems really natural, like, oh yeah, they all look good. Let me think about it and I'll get back to you. Now, you'll notice on this flow chart here that I've got most of the arrows one size, but then these other 2 arrows right here and here are smaller. The reason I did that is to show I don't really ever lead with these. I only will ask this after we've gone around in a circle for a second, then I'll deviate off. But my almost always go-to is, okay, can you let me know in a very short amount of time? So a couple examples would be, okay, yeah, I've actually been meaning to make a few phone calls. Do you mind if I go out to my car or truck? I can make those phone calls, take me about 10, 15 minutes, give you guys some time to think about it, and I can knock on your door afterwards and get an answer. Or just kind of depending on how the flow of the estimate went and your particular day, like let's say that you've got 3 estimates today and this is the first one, you could say something like, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I've actually got 2 other estimates I need to go do. Do you mind if I swing back by later today after those estimates around like 3 or 4 o'clock and get an answer from you? Now, after you say that, there's a number of different things the homeowners can say, but I will promise you'll be blown away. A lot of times the answer is, yeah. Because think about it, they gave you an objection and you just accepted it. You're like, cool, that's fine by me. Think about it all you want, that makes sense. And then after you're done, can you let me know? Now, something else they might say, and that's why I say think about it a lot of times isn't the real objection, is they'll tell you whatever the real objection is. They're like, oh, well, that actually won't work because I want to get other estimates and that's going to take me a couple days. Or, actually, I really want to talk it over with my husband or wife. They don't get off work till 5, or they're not coming back into town till a couple days from now, and I want to think about it and talk it over with them. So give me some more time to actually get it done. And then you can go handle that objection because think about it is no longer the objection. But the 2 other things they might say is, they might say, oh yeah, no, I'm gonna need more time than that to think about it. Like, why don't you, give me 3 or 4 days to think about it? So you just kind of go back into that loop, right? And if they don't give you a time frame, they're like, oh no, I'm gonna need some more time to think about it, then just do it again, but shorten that, keep that time frame short. It's like, oh, okay, cool. What about like tomorrow? Can I get an answer from you tomorrow? And try to just keep it as short as possible, because the quicker they make a decision since they were with you, the more likely it is yes. So, if they're with you right now, they're likely to say yes. If you only give them 10 minutes, they're likely to say yes. 1 day, still likely to say yes, but getting away. But you give them 2 weeks, the chances of them saying yes dramatically goes down over time. And that's when I go to maybe those smaller arrows when they're like, oh no, I'm gonna need some more time. Because in my opinion, it's pretty rare when you have the person who really is just wanting to think about it. That's their objection. I like to sleep on everything. I never make a decision on the spot or the day of, in which case I'm really respectful of that. It's like, hey, I get that. Take the time you need. But in reality, those people really don't need more than a couple of days to think about it. So when they're wanting like a lot of time to think about it, that's when I'll maybe go to those other things and just, politely ask like, hey, is there a chance that you might not paint this year? Or I'll say, hey, do you mind if I ask, what do you think of my price? Was it higher or lower than what you were expecting? And then maybe I'll get out of them, you know what? That price was actually a lot higher than I was expecting. It's like, okay, cool, yeah. What were you expecting? Where do you think? And you might come to find it's like, yeah, I would have signed up if you fell in the price that I was expecting, but that's just way higher than I thought. So that's why I'm not signing up. But I'm just saying, think about it because I don't like the price. But then you can kind of dig out the real objection. And everything's case by case. Like I said, it's kind of a dance, kind of an art. And you'll get better at this over time where it just seems really natural and doesn't feel uncomfortable, weird, awkward, or pushy. That's the whole goal, is to start practicing this, kind of memorizing this chart, so it just kind of flows naturally. And for the homeowner, it doesn't feel uncomfortable at all. It's just a nice conversation you guys are having. All right, so let's talk about what is one of the most common answers after you say, hey, let me go to my car, make some phone calls, then you can give me an answer. They're gonna say, well, actually, I need to do fill in the blank first, then I can make a decision. And it's kind of funny because first they said think about it, and then they come up with this other reason why they don't want to give an answer right now. And 9 times out of 10, whatever that reason is, that also isn't a real reason or objection. It just is what seems natural for them when they talk with conversation. Like, it really isn't them trying to not give you an answer. It just seems like, oh, I got to say something. I'll just say this. And then as you walk through the conversation with them, they're going to give you the real objection and realize, yeah, you know what, I can just sign up. Like, I realize I don't need to do whatever it is. So when they say that, I almost always do a little checkpoint and say, hey, wait a minute. Are you sure the real objection isn't that you're not 100% sure if you're going to be painting this year? I like to check in there, but maybe I've already done that, so that's why I have the arrow. You can kind of skip that sometimes, but I love to go there first, because the other natural thing for them to say later on, after you eliminate whatever that something fill in the blank was, well, maybe I'm not sure if I'm painting this year. So if you get that out of the way first, and a lot of times they'll say, no, I'm definitely painting this year, you'll get to the real objection. So after they say, yeah, no, I'm definitely painting this year, that's when I'll just eliminate whatever that fill in the blank is and then close again. So a lot of times that fill in the blank is something based on like a timeline. There's some kind of like time constriction there. So the easiest way to get rid of it is just to say, okay, well, if fill in the blank was already done, what do you think then? Would you hire me? And a lot of times you'd be surprised, they'll say yes. And then you can explain how we don't have to schedule anything right now. I'm just trying to get some commitment that I can paint your house. I don't really care when I do it. I don't care if it's this month or 3 months from now, but can I get that commitment? Some examples that you might hear, they might be like, well, I want to get my HOA approval and just get all that figured out before I make any decisions and do anything. So I'll check in real quick and I'll be like, is there a chance that you might not be actually getting the painting done this year? I'll be like, oh, no, I'll definitely get the painting done this year. I just want to get the HOA and all that figured out first. In which case I'll be like, oh, okay, great. Yeah, that makes sense. Do you mind if I ask, if you'd gotten that HOA approval before today, before this estimate, and you had it right now, what do you think? Would you hire me? And then a lot of times you'll be surprised, they'll say yes, or it'll go to the actual real objection. It's like, well, I just, I'm not sure if it's in the budget, like I'm not sure if I'm painting this year, or maybe it is a price thing. You can see as you just kind of walk them through the conversation, a lot of times it'll lead to yes or some other real objection. Another one would be like, I need to figure out my colors first. And be like, hey, well, if you had your colors decided, would you hire me? They say yes, and then you explain, well, colors aren't going to change the price, and I can wait. Another common one is like they've got other projects going on, right? So like, I'm trying to finish my basement, and I really want to talk to everybody else, the drywaller, and figure out the timeline before I commit with anything with the painting. And you just walk them through and make them realize like, well, that's not really a reason to say I can't do the painting. Like, I get that you don't know when the painting's going to be done, and I'm fine with that. I just want to know if you're going to pick me as your painter. Like, I'm not asking you to schedule anything today. I'm just asking you to commit to me to say, yes, I'm going to be the one doing the painting. All right, so use this flow chart, play around with it, practice it with some friends. Think of different scenarios and different things they're going to say and see if you can like plug and play and see where the conversation leads and takes you, because the more familiarized you get with this and the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes, and it actually becomes fun. It becomes really easy. All right, leave questions down in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, give it a like or maybe even subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.